There was one angel whose name was never spoken loudly, not because he was evil, but because his presence meant something had already ended. He did not arrive with thunder, he did not announce himself with light, and he never gave warnings. When he appeared, stories stopped. Some traditions say souls could feel him before they ever saw him. Others say that even the strongest angels stepped aside when he passed. He did not fight wars. He did not deliver messages. He closed the final chapter. And tonight, you are about to hear why even heaven feared his silence. Welcome to Hidden Origins. This is the channel where forgotten truths, ancient stories, and forbidden knowledge come back to life. Today, we uncover the true origin of the angel trusted with the end of all things. This is the story of Azrael. Long before time was measured, before years, aging, or graves existed, death did not exist. The world was incomplete. Life had not yet begun, and so there was no need for it to end. Creation flowed forward without loss, without separation, without finality. Everything changed with one decision. When Adam and Eve disobeyed the divine command in Eden, something new entered the universe: consequence. And with consequence came a reality that had never existed before: mortality. From that moment on, humanity would no longer remain forever. Life would begin, grow, weaken, and eventually end. But death was not just an event, it was a responsibility. And that responsibility could not be given lightly. Among the angels were warriors like Michael, messengers like Gabriel, and countless others assigned to divine order. Each had strength, each had obedience, each had honor. But none were prepared for this task, because ending life required more than power. It required absolute obedience without emotion. So God commanded the angels to go to earth and gather the dust from which humanity would be formed. One by one, the greatest angels descended.
Some sources say the earth cried out, begging not to be harmed. Others say compassion stopped them from acting. Michael returned without the dust. Gabriel returned without the dust. Each angel hesitated. Then Azrael was sent. At that time he was not feared, he was not named, he was simply obedient. He went to the earth, and he did not turn back. He gathered the dust even as the earth wept. Some traditions say he promised the dust would be returned one day. Others say he said nothing at all. What mattered was this: he completed the command. And with that single act, everything changed. Azrael had done what no other angel could, not because he was cruel, not because he lacked compassion, but because he placed divine command above personal feeling. That is why he was chosen. From that moment forward, Azrael was entrusted with a role no being desired, yet all existence depended on. He would guide the soul from its first breath to its final moment. He would stand at the doorway no one could avoid. And Azrael was no longer simply an angel. He became Malak al-Maut, the angel of death. His name, meaning help of God, was no coincidence. His duty was not punishment, but transition. Yet despite his obedience, fear followed him. Because Azrael's presence meant certainty. Other angels warned, other angels protected. Azrael arrived only when the decision had already been made. And unlike rebellion or war, there was no escape from him. If you want the full truth behind angels, death, and what waits beyond, subscribe now and stay with us. But here is the question that changed everything. If Azrael did not choose death, and death did not create Azrael, then what power was he truly placed in control of? Because ancient texts suggest Azrael was not just delivering death, he was overseeing something far greater. Something that knew every name, every breath, and every final moment. We uncover the terrifying record that tracks every living soul, and why Azrael never arrives early and never arrives late. Once you understand that system, death will never feel random again.
Azrael does not choose who dies. That belief is one of the greatest misunderstandings surrounding him. According to ancient traditions, Azrael carries a divine record, often described as a scroll, sometimes as a book, containing the names of every living soul on earth. This record is not symbolic, it is active, alive, constantly changing. When a person is born, their name appears on it. When their time ends, the name disappears. Azrael does not debate these names. He does not question them. He does not delay them. He waits. This is why he is feared, not because he is cruel, but because he is exact. Every life unfolds under this unseen system. People believe death is random, accidental, sudden. But in these traditions, nothing about it is unplanned. The timing is precise, down to the final breath. Azrael's role begins only when the command is given. This separates him from every other angel. Warrior angels act in moments. Messenger angels move between realms. But Azrael exists in a state of constant awareness. No distance limits him. No border hides a soul from him. Some texts describe the earth appearing to him as small as a bowl in his hand, not because the earth is weak, but because his responsibility covers every corner of it at once. And yet, Azrael does not always come alone. In many traditions, he commands an entire network of assisting angels. These beings are sometimes referred to as the angels of death in plural form. They act under his authority, carrying out his will across the world. Still, Azrael remains at the center. He is not only a servant, he is a commander, and sometimes he comes personally, especially for those whose lives carried great weight, prophets, saints, or souls whose final moment held spiritual significance. This is where Azrael becomes even more unsettling, because he does not appear the same to everyone. Unlike other angels with fixed forms, Azrael's appearance changes based on the soul standing before him. He reflects the truth of a person's life back to them. To the righteous, Azrael is calm. Traditions describe him appearing with gentleness, light, and peace. His presence feels familiar, almost comforting. The soul is given time to understand what is happening. There is no struggle, no fear. In some accounts, prophets were approached directly by Azrael, not by his assistants. He did not seize their souls, he invited them.
But for others, his presence is very different. To those who lived with cruelty, arrogance, or rebellion, Azrael appears overwhelming, cold, terrifying. His form becomes heavy, reflecting the fear buried within the soul. In these moments, death is not gentle. The soul resists, and the resistance becomes suffering. This is not punishment created by Azrael. It is the soul confronting itself. If you want the full, uncensored truth behind death and the unseen world,
Subscribe now and stay with Hidden Origins. Some mystical traditions, especially within Sufi thought, explain this clearly. They teach that Azrael does not bring fear or peace. He reveals what already exists inside the soul. Peace meets peace. Fear meets fear. This is why stories exist of Azrael appearing in dreams before death. These visions are not threats, they are warnings, invitations to prepare. Some people wake from these dreams shaken, others feel calm, but the message is always the same. Time is closer than you think. Poets and scholars wrote of these encounters. Some described Azrael appearing as a quiet man, others as a radiant presence. The form changed, but the meaning never did. Yet even with all this authority, Azrael does not act independently. Unlike rebellious figures, he does nothing on his own will. Every action waits for divine command. That obedience is what places him beyond judgment. And this leads to the most disturbing realization. Azrael's reach is not limited to humanity. Ancient narrations suggest that if commanded, he could take the soul of any created being, even angels. This is why silence spreads when he moves. War stops, songs pause, even the greatest angels give way. Because Azrael does not belong to battle or prophecy, he belongs to the end. And once he arrives, nothing continues forward. But Azrael's authority did not come from death itself. You will hear something far more terrifying, the moment death was created, and why even the angels collapsed at the sight of it. That revelation changes everything.
To understand why Azrael stands above fear itself, you must understand something even the angels struggled to face. Death was not always a process. According to ancient narrations, death was created as a separate entity, a force with form, weight, and presence. When God created death, it was not hidden, it was shown. And when the angels saw it, they collapsed, not for moments, not for hours, for ages. Some traditions say every angel who witnessed death fell unconscious for 1,000 years. The sight was too overwhelming, not because it was evil, but because it was absolute. This detail changes everything. If death itself could overpower angels, then the question becomes clear. Who could command it? The answer was Azrael. Azrael was not born of death. He was placed above it. While other angels worked with light, sound, fire, or message, Azrael carried the boundary between existence and what comes next. This is why his form is described in ways that defy imagination. Ancient Islamic sources describe Azrael as vast beyond comprehension, not human, not animal, not even angelic in the way we understand angels. He is said to have 4 faces, each facing a different direction: north, south, east, and west. This was not symbolic beauty, it was awareness. No soul escaped his sight. But that was only the beginning. Azrael is described as having thousands of wings, not feathered and soft, but stretching across realms. Some wings are said to represent mercy and peace, used to escort righteous souls. Others are described as heavy, severe, and terrifying, reserved for souls burdened with sin. These descriptions are not meant to frighten. They are meant to explain how one being could interact with countless souls at the same moment. And then is the detail that unsettles scholars the most. Azrael's body is said to be covered in eyes and tongues. Each one represents a living soul on earth. As populations grow, his form changes. As people die, parts of that form disappear. His very existence mirrors the state of life itself. When a soul ends, an eye closes. This is why Azrael does not need to search. He already sees everyone. Some narrations even go further, describing the earth appearing to Azrael as something small, almost insignificant, like a bowl in his hand. This does not suggest arrogance. It suggests reach. Distance means nothing to him. Time means nothing to him. He does not travel. He arrives. This level of authority placed Azrael among the greatest beings ever created. Some scholars even suggested that the angels who carry the throne of God, beings described as cosmic in size, were still lesser in scale than Azrael. Not in rank, but in responsibility, because every mission ends with him. But despite his terrifying descriptions, Azrael is not cruel. He is precise. His appearance changes based on who is seeing him. For the faithful, Azrael is gentle. His presence brings clarity. The soul feels lifted, not taken. Stories describe warmth, light, and a sense of return. For the rebellious, his presence is unbearable, not because he inflicts pain, but because the soul resists what it cannot escape. Azrael becomes a mirror. This dual nature is why mystics described him not as an enemy, but as a revealer of truth. Yet even Azrael has an end. This is where his story becomes truly unsettling. According to ancient traditions, after the final judgment, when paradise and punishment are separated, one task remains. Death itself will be brought forth. It will appear in physical form, described as a ram placed between heaven and hell, and before all creation, death will be destroyed. When that happens, death will no longer exist, and Azrael's role will end. The angel who stood at every final moment will have no more moments to stand in. His duty will be complete. Eternity will begin. This is why Azrael is feared, not because he takes life, but because he represents the boundary no one crosses twice. We explore how Azrael's image shaped culture, myths, and the idea of the Grim Reaper, and why his name still echoes today. Once you hear that, his presence will feel uncomfortably familiar. Over time, Azrael's presence did not remain confined to sacred texts alone. As civilizations rose and fell, his image slowly drifted into folklore, poetry, and collective memory. His name crossed languages and borders, changing shape but never losing meaning. To many cultures, Azrael became more than an angel. He became the idea of death itself. This is how the image of the Grim Reaper was born, a shadowy figure standing at the edge of life, waiting. But unlike later fictional versions that portrayed death as cruel or mocking, Azrael's origins tell a very different story. He was never a hunter. He was a gatekeeper. In Western imagination, death was often shown as cold and heartless. In older traditions, Azrael was something else entirely, solemn, precise, and unavoidable. Artists painted him in dark robes. Poets wrote of his quiet footsteps. Storytellers warned children that when he arrived, time had already run out. Yet none of these versions captured the full truth, because Azrael does not come to frighten, he comes to complete. This is why his name appears again and again in literature. Writers were drawn to the idea of a being who ends stories without hatred or pleasure, only duty. In poetry, Azrael is sometimes gentle. In myths, sometimes terrifying, but always inevitable. Even modern culture could not let go of his name. It appears in novels, films, and even children's stories, often stripped of its meaning, but never forgotten. The sound of the name alone carries weight. This persistence tells us something important. Humanity has always sensed that death is not chaos, it is order, and Azrael represents that order. But the most misunderstood part of his story is fear. People believe Azrael is feared because he brings pain. That is not true. Azrael is feared because he brings certainty. There is no negotiation with him, no delay, no escape. Other angels warn, other angels protect. Azrael confirms. Ancient narrations describe a stillness that spreads through the heavens when he moves. Angels pause, songs stop, even the most powerful beings become silent, not out of terror, but respect. Because Azrael represents the final command. He is not involved in wars. He does not deliver revelations. He does not guide nations. He closes the book. And when the book is closed, nothing more can be written. If these hidden truths change how you see life and death, subscribe now and stay with Hidden Origins. There is one final detail that completes his story. According to ancient belief, after the end of time, after judgment, after reward and punishment, death itself will be destroyed. When that happens, no soul will ever die again, and Azrael's task will finally end. The angel who stood at every last breath will step away, his purpose fulfilled. This detail transforms everything. Azrael was never meant to rule eternity. He was designed for transition. Once transition ends, so does his role. This is why he is not evil and not merciful. He is necessary. He stands between what was and what comes next. So how should we see Azrael? Not as a monster in the dark, not as a punishment waiting to strike, but as the final guide every soul will meet. Some will meet him in peace, some in fear, but all will meet him honestly, because Azrael does not bring judgment, he brings truth. And that truth is shaped by the life lived before his arrival. This is the hidden origin of the angel even angels respected, not because he was stronger, but because when he arrived, the story was already over. And now you know the origin behind the name whispered across centuries. Until our paths cross again, keep your minds open.